Dum, 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 dum. Right as we start, I get breaking news. Email just came. Reagan Rutherford entering the portal for her graduate
Oh,
Kentucky, the high-flying lefty who is a fabulously good player. That's big.
whoa.
For a starter.
That's crazy. That is probably the biggest, and I can't imagine a bigger name that would be hitting the portal, although I'm sure I will be kicking myself for that statement in about a week. But dang.
Yes, you will, because if we haven't learned anything since Long Beach State beat Texas back on like August 25th, anything can and will happen in this sport right now. Okay, so before we get to that, like I'm dealing with personal trauma. I'm really having a hard time.
Oh,
So my friend Thomas is buying from me today my 1991 Isuzu Trooper. I'm the original owner. He's 33 years old, Mr. Trooper.
is that a car?
Yeah, see, it has crank windows, a 5-speed. Mr. Trooper has been around for me longer than almost anything in my life. But it's time. It's time. He needs a new home. Thomas is going to take good care of him. But I mean, 33 years, that's a long time. You can't even imagine.
How long have you been married?
This time, close to 30 years.
So okay, there you go.
The car is, I mean, forget it, right?
Dang.
And for those
Okay.
of you laughing at me, Brenda's the best wife I ever had. All right, moving on to volleyball.
Brenda's the best. Can confirm.
Who's in the Final Four? I can't even remember.
I don't even know what day it is, Lee.
I feel like I'm about to enter a journalism blender, but it's all good, and I'm not complaining. We're both headed to Tampa tomorrow. This is Monday. We get there Tuesday. Wednesday are the 4 teams practicing and press conferences. I will tell you, I'm working on a story about the challenge and the replay. And I'll be talking to Joan Powell later, the best official who ever officiated. And I'll bring it up and write that. I'm also thinking of a storyline. The first one I'm coming up with is the Texas middles, because Asia O'Neal, who's the best player in the field, who now is getting the ball. And what a wrecking crew. And
just went number 1 overall in the PBF draft.
Oh, no, you really did pay attention to it?
It's the only thing they've released. The only thing they've said is Asia O'Neal's number 1, and that is a fantastic pick. And Columbus got her.
What team?
Columbus.
Okay. Best shirt. Good logo, the Columbus Fury.
Yeah.
All right. So
anyway.
Let's start with Texas. I didn't think Texas was going to be there.
No, I didn't either. This seems so interesting to me because, well, one, they're there because of Maddie Skinner. Not to say anyone else wasn't. This team did amazing, but you have Maddie Skinner gutting her way out to get to a Final Four. She puts up 26 kills in that Sweet 16, and then has another 24 in the Elite 8. And Asia O'Neal has had an outstanding tournament too, and the blocking's been outstanding, as it has all season. I mean, they're a top 5 blocking team in the country, but blocking can only get you so far. This team, I would say, aside from blocking, isn't elite on either side of the ball. It's not like there's some physical, offensive powerhouse. And then defensively, they have good blockers, but in the backcourt, it's not the best defense to get it done.
Well, to your point, Molly Phillips, the 6'5" right side, has had a much better second half of the season, and especially the last third, than she did early on. I mean, she was really struggling early, and she's playing super well, and she's 6'5", and she's a high accuracy hitter. I think also the libero has gotten better, and the setter, Emma Halter, has finally, she's a freshman, and she's finally
Swindle. Halter's a bro.
One of those two.
Whatever.
Note previous statement about life in a blender.
You're right, though. She's gotten a ton better as the season's gone on. I mean, that's what we see from freshman setters. And also to have 2 of them in the tournament, with Bergen Riley and Ella Swindle, it's been really cool to see, freshman setters be so good this late in the season, because normally what we see from freshmen, as we've seen from a few of them that are still in this tournament, like sometimes they kind of stall a little bit once they hit November, where they're used to being done playing for their high school season. They have to play another 6 weeks after that if you're making it all the way to the Final Four. And I think both of these setters have not only stayed put, but I feel like they've gotten better as the season's gone on, and it got a lot more comfortable, especially with those middle connections.
I think this is true. The last team to win with a freshman setter was the Stanford 2016 with Jenna Gray, and of course that team also with Catherine Plummer
Yeah.
Morgan, Henson, Adriana Fitzmaurice, and they won 2 more over the course of the next 3 years. Point that's pretty good.
Yeah.
But Texas, which got swept badly by Stanford at home earlier, what a huge victory and doing so many things.
Yeah.
Stanford versus Wisconsin, you get an interesting mix because
Texas,
um, you know,
Wisconsin,
Texas. Who did I say?
Stanford.
Oh,
But to be fair, this is a very good representation of where the media is at right now. We're just trying to keep our heads afloat and get through.
After watching those 4 matches on Saturday and then writing all day Sunday, and then last night when I popped the first beer and we were trying to figure out what to watch on TV, and Brenda said, "Are you tired?" I said, "Yeah, I'm so tired. I can't even tell you how tired I am." And because
I've been having
and I'm
one
not.
of
For those of you watching, I'm not complaining. I love this time of year.
this
It's awesome.
is literally this is like Christmas.
Yeah.
I
But
will
anyway,
say, I feel so exhausted that I can't even sleep, if that makes sense. Like my body's like I can't do anything, but my head's like, thinking about all these volleyball things and I can't sleep. And then I'm, diving into like matchups in my head at like 3 a.m. Come on.
Well, the good part is that you're not calling any of the games, and so now you're just doing the social media and being Emily, and that's what you're really, really good at. So that'll
Doing
work.
I'm doing some TV stuff now too. So I'll have some studio hits and we're doing interviews and all that. But no, yeah, all the heavy lifting's done. Like this is the fun part. I just get to go enjoy it and talk to some players. So I could not be more excited.
Wisconsin, I mean, there's nothing else to say about them. They're just playing fantastic. Julio Orzol has become, I am declaring, the best libero in America today. She is just unbelievable. She gets balls that other people just dream about. She controls the free ball perfectly, not just close. She is just a fantastic player, and that's no disrespect to Lexi Rodriguez, who's pretty darn good for Nebraska. But Wisconsin, I mean, Anna Schmeck is playing so well. Sarah Franklin's ridiculous. Temi Thomas is I mean, she's just in fuego, on and on and on.
From last weekend, and I know I've said this throughout the season, and to be fair, if you go back to the 3 games that they've dropped, 1 or 2 of them, they didn't have Anna Smrek, so I'm counting those as a wash. The game against Nebraska, playing at Nebraska, MJ Hamel had been out for 2 weeks with a concussion. Devin Robinson had been out for about a week and a half with a shoulder injury. That, to me, that wasn't a full strength Wisconsin team that went into Devaney and lost in 5. And to be fair, it was very close. Not to say, Nebraska didn't deserve that win, because they absolutely did. But the games Wisconsin has lost have not been at full strength. When Wisconsin is at full strength, there is not a team in the country that can touch them. And I will say, the one thing I thought could potentially beat the physicality and just like massiveness up front was speed. And what we saw last weekend with Oregon, who runs the fastest offense I've ever seen in my life, similar to like Japan, they just it fires out and it's the fastest thing. I thought that maybe would test them a little bit more than it did. And what we found, Anna Smrek didn't matter. You have Anna Smrek up there and she's just roofing them left and right. It didn't matter at all. Gabby Gonzalez and Mimi Collier had such a hard time, especially starting out, putting the ball down. Collier found a little bit of rhythm, but man, I thought it would be speed that would, potentially at least test Wisconsin, and it didn't matter.
Well, that's like on the other side. I mean, I think all of America was just enthralled with and rooting for Arkansas. The only people rooting for Nebraska were Nebraska fans. And Arkansas was delightful. And, Jill Gillen at 5'7" is fantastic. And Jason Watson had joked with me earlier in the season. Yeah, I get a lot of letters now from kids who are 5'7", 5'8". But here's the thing. Jillian Gillen not only is superior athletically, explosive, has an IQ on the volleyball, like it's just is unbelievable. But she also touches 10 feet plus. Yeah. Okay. So if you're just another 5'7" kid out there, you better start thinking about D3 unless you can touch 10 foot plus. Yeah. And ultimately, though, I mean, she hit like 100 because Nebraska's too tall and too talented and blocked too many shots. I mean, I remember in the past, like in 14-year-old club going, you guys are making that setter look like an Olympian the way she's serving you. Well, they were making Becca Alec look like an Olympian because, that's just what happens. Tall is and big is better than small.
Yeah, I agree. And at some point, you can be a fantastic, and I think Jill Gill is one of the best outsides. Again, I talk about her. I don't think there's been a week where I haven't said she's my favorite player. I will continue to say it until she's done playing, which hopefully is never. Um, there becomes a point where you can't win out with the 5'7" player. And I think they made it as far as they possibly could have. I would have been really shocked if they beat Nebraska, even, having that group of seniors who was playing for their careers against a bunch of freshmen who maybe have a few more years. But at the end of the day, it's tough to go deeper in this tournament when you have players that just don't match up against others.
Well, the other side of it too is Taylor Head, the other outside hitter, is 5'10", and you can't
Yeah.
with a 5'10" unless you have a 6'3" on the other side.
Yeah.
So in Taylor Head, that was really good. Nebraska, I mean, Harper Murray's such a gamer, man.
Yeah.
In crunch time, she's just so good. And Allie Batenhorst is doing her job. The two
Yep.
middles are doing a nice job. The setter is, well documented how good she is. And then when you have Rodriguez, she saves so many plays for you because she just is just so spectacular. She sets the second ball out of system as good as anybody
Yeah,
ever.
her hands are stunning. I mean, she's
Yeah.
honestly way better with her hands than she is her platform on those out of system balls. Sometimes the passes can get a little bit wonky, but man, I mean, even if you just look at the stats for that game against Arkansas, 5 players with 11 or more digs, like that's crazy for a team. And that tells you how much of a defensive battle it was for Nebraska and Arkansas. But man, when you have, basically two liberos back there with Laney Choboy and Lexi Rodriguez, even with Harper Murray and Merritt Beeson, they essentially act like two liberos too. I mean, they are phenomenal in the backcourt. It's so difficult to put a ball down against them. So when you add that height factor in of having a player like Becca Alec who can go side to side and is a beast, same with Andy Jackson, and then you have the back row where if anything sneaks by it, they're just like, easy up. It becomes difficult.
Yeah, and Merritt Beeson, I mean, I thought she'd be good coming from Florida. I didn't think she'd be second probably to Sarah Franklin for Big Ten Player of the Year. She's just had a fantastic season. However, they have two problems. They go on the road
Yep.
because Tampa's not home, even though it'll be a sea of red, whether they're in the arena or not. The Nebraska fans will be there. They're everywhere. You want to go eat at a restaurant? Well, you're going to wait in line behind Nebraska people I mean, they're just going to be there, Come on, honey, we're going to get some sunshine.
Yep.
And, but then they got to play Pittsburgh. And
Yep.
you cannot discount how good Pittsburgh is on all fronts. Number one, I'd like to know astronomically the chances of pulling a reverse sweep on the same team twice. Yes, and in that
court.
unbelievable what they did. And those freshmen, we talk about all the other freshmen, but I'll tell you, you could make the case that Olivia Babcock and Tori Stafford are the two best freshmen on the same team.
Yeah, and I actually went back and forth with someone on this yesterday. I think both those players are very much deserving of, a National Freshman of the Year nod. But I think also you have to look at the whole body of work. And this is where you get into, tournament bias and recency. But to be fair, like, yeah, you have two freshmen that are leading the way for your team to get another Final Four berth, their third in 3 years. So I definitely believe they should be in that conversation. But I do hope that when people are looking at, the season as a whole, you're kind of looking at full body of work and not just what they're doing in the tournament. Not that they haven't been outstanding.
Well, I'm going to talk out of both sides of my mouth here because unlike the ABCA, where their people gather starting today and they have the decision made by Thursday, so they have Friday, they'll have the National Coach of the Year, National Player of the Year.
When do they announce? Is it Friday morning?
Thursday is the coaches, or Friday morning, and then Thursday I think they announce coach, and then Friday is the players at the banquet, the luncheon banquet.
Yeah.
We wait until after the championship match, so our voters will be later. Now back to freshmen, unless I look at it completely differently, I've got to go with Kennedy Martin from Florida. Her body of work for the entire season surpasses anybody else as a freshman. You take her off that team, and they are 500. I mean, considering who they lost, that kid was absolutely spectacular. And they didn't miss Merritt Beeson. That's how good this kid was at Florida. And but anyway, that's here and there. So back to Pittsburgh.
She'd be my number 2. I still think Bergen Riley. I will beat that drum until it's
see, and I have her down like probably 4th or 5th, but it's when after you watch in person and you see Babcock and Stafford.
But hitters are so easy to give it's so easy.
Well,
It's
just
not,
like it's so easy, just like first year coaches. I don't like to vote for a first year coach. I won't vote for Dawn Sullivan at Missouri, even though she did an unbelievable job, or Van Neal at Arizona State, because they're you just inherit, you get this bump. I don't think it should.
But Nebraska, if they did not have Bergen Riley as the setter, if they had to deal with that stupid 6-2 again, this team would not be half the team that they are. But whatever. Okay.
Well, you're one of my voters, so I mean,
I know.
Hey, public, Emily's going to be voting number one. Bergen Riley.
Tell you guys what I vote for. I mean, I post my poll every week.
Yeah, speaking of Coach of the Year, the two kids up at Chrissy and Savannah, what they did at Cal, they didn't get the head coaching job. Jen Malcolm from UCLA, the assistant who played at Iowa State, got that job. She also started out at Syracuse. Let's go Orange. But she's the new head coach at Cal. And she's really cool, and she'll do really well there. So yeah. I think we got this covered. I'm not making predictions. I'm too smart for that, because I was too stupid last week. Remember, I had Kentucky beating Nebraska to go to the Final Four.
Well, that's what we do. We make predictions.
Yeah. I mean, if you're watching this, you're a volleyball fan, and you're going to watch the national semifinals, and you're going to watch the final on Sunday, 3 p.m. Eastern on ABC. But tell your friends who aren't volleyball people to watch, because this is big for us. You got 3 blue bloods in there, and Texas, Nebraska, Wisconsin. Pittsburgh back for the 3rd time. There's recognition. No matter who makes it, we'll have good ratings. So let's hope for the best.
I do want to make predictions.
Okay, good. I'm not. I'm just not.
Mostly the thing I want to get off my chest is I think Nebraska and Pitt has the potential to be one of the best games of the season. Just with how they match up, they're so even. The teams are so similar. They're both so good. One of the top teams defensively. Offensively, Pitt, I mean, numbers wise, maybe has them, but I would put Nebraska up against their offense as well. But what Pitt does so well is they serve so well. And I think that's something that Nebraska has been struggling with over the last few weeks, especially during regional specifically. It seems like the team, they are one of the best passing teams, if not the best passing team in the country. But for whatever reason, when they went up to the field house at Wisconsin, everything went downhill. And since then, they haven't necessarily figured out how to get back into a passing rhythm. And maybe it's part of that freshman fatigue and, new players just playing next to each other. I don't know. But I'm so excited for Pitt, Nebraska. I think that matchup is going to be so fun. I'm going to I'll make a prediction. I'm going Nebraska on it. I think they're going to find a way to figure it out. I think they match up better. However, I think Pitt fights a little bit harder. So we'll see. On the other side, I don't know how much of a game it's going to be. I would give it how I did Oregon. I would say Wisconsin in 4. I think if Texas can block how they've been blocking, it could be better. I just don't think offensively, I would put Anna Smrek on Maddie Skinner, and what are you going to do? Like
the volleyball world will all be rooting for Pittsburgh to beat Nebraska, except for Nebraska fans. Everybody will be rooting for Pittsburgh, and Nebraska fans will be rooting like hell for Texas because they don't want to play Wisconsin again.
Well, did you see on that note, I put on a poll on Twitter and I said, hey, Husker fans, I actually want to know who you're rooting for with Texas and Wisconsin. And I have never had so much engagement on a tweet. I think I have 200 comments being like, oh God, I hope they both lose. I hope there's an earthquake and the whole thing comes down. Like everyone's. But the consensus to me was that they would rather play Texas than Wisconsin, which I think is the fair thing to say, because I don't know if Wisconsin is playing at their full strength.
Part of a tournament is teams do you a favor. If Arkansas does not beat Kentucky, I still like Kentucky's chances against Nebraska. I didn't like Arkansas.
Yeah, and your matchup didn't work. It didn't happen. So I'm with you. That could have done it.
I'll see you tomorrow in Tampa, Florida.
Woo!
Thank you for watching and putting up with us. And we'll probably do this one more time, like after the tournament and before we do our All-American teams, and we go into a well-desered coma. We
got to do it on Friday or something before the
down there?
Yeah, from down there.
Okay. All right, maybe. If you're going to AVCA convention, I'm presenting, and I use the term very loosely, but interviewing 5-time Olympian Danielle Scott. and
Ooh.
it's one of the seminars. 2:45 p.m. Thursday. Come see us. Bye, Em. See you tomorrow.